So, Andrea, do you happen to know all the different types of trusts that you can actually have for estate planning purposes?
No, I can't say that I do.
Well, surprisingly, today you and I are going to be in the exact same boat because before I had my interview and conversation with our attorney, our estate attorney, Mr. Brandon McGee from the McGee Law Firm, I didn't know all the different types of trusts as well. So I want to say to all of you who are watching today, you're going to want to stay locked into this video if you are trying to determine what type of trust you're going to need for your estate. Hi, my name is Carson Graves, President and CEO of the Retirement Education Center.
And my name is Andrea, Director of Operations at the Retirement Education Center. And the reason we've created these educational videos is to help to make the difficult and confusing process of retirement planning simple.
Absolutely, Andrea, and we do this by incorporating a team of strategic partners, ranging from certified financial analysts, certified financial planners, estate attorneys, insurance advisors, and other needed professionals to help us build a comprehensive and holistic roadmap that's going to let our clients know when, where, and how they can reach their retirement goals. So in today's video, what we are going to continue to do, Andrea, is to continue to educate you about how to have a proper estate plan established. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go right to our interview again with Mr. Brandon McGee as he continues to educate myself and those of you who are watching about how to make sure that you have a proper estate plan established. So Brandon, I want to thank you for actually coming back and joining us to continue our series on estate planning. What I'm seeing is that a lot of my clients are seeing just how important it is to make sure they have all of their affairs in order, just in case something tragically happens. So Brandon, if you can tell us, we talked a little bit in our prior videos about the facets of estate planning. And you mentioned trust as being one of the key components of that. If you can really dive into that now in this video and letting us know, the types of trusts that are out there and how we should go about, obtaining or which may be better for whatever situation it may be.
Sure. So number one, this is a big topic, and I'm going to try and make it as easily understandable by non-attorneys as possible, right? Because that's who's watching us, or people out there in the world who are not attorneys, right? It's like when my doctor talks to me, he's got to tell me things in plain English. So there's two basic kinds of trust. Let's start with this. Overall, there's revocable and irrevocable, okay? Let's first start with revocable, then I'll talk about irrevocable.
Okay.
But revocable, number one, obviously means that you can revoke it. It means that if you just one day wake up and say, I hate this trust, this is stupid, I don't like this anymore, you can just get rid of it, right? Period, end of story, very easy. Number two, it means that you can amend it. So if you wake up one morning and say, you know what, Joe Blow made me mad and I'm going to take him out of my estate plan, you can easily amend your trust to get Joe Blow out of there, right? Or whatever the case may be. You have a new grandkid and you want to leave some money to that grandkid, so you want to put them in the trust as a beneficiary, right?
Okay.
So that's what a revocable trust is. What can it do for us? Number one, as I talked about in a previous segment, it can allow us to avoid probate court, period, end of story. It can allow us to avoid the federal estate tax, which we're going to keep an eye on that. Just things we're hearing politically, that tax, the threshold may drop substantially, and the tax obligation may actually increase over the next year or two. So we're going to keep an eye on what's happening in Washington, D.C. with that. But the trust can help us avoid that. The revocable trust can also allow us to have a set of very specific rules for each beneficiary where we don't just have to give everybody a lump sum of money. If son number one is getting $1 million and son number two is getting $1 million, we can spread that money out differently depending on what's going on in those sons' lives. Some people, it would not be good for them to get an inheritance all at once, right? Because they're financially irresponsible. Maybe they've struggled with chemical dependency issues in the past, and dumping a bunch of money on them might trigger their addiction, things like that. So those are things that a revocable trust can do in general. Now, what is an irrevocable trust, and how is that the same, and how is it different? Okay. An irrevocable trust is different in that you can't revoke it. It's just there. We kind of look at it as etched in stone, right? Number two, you can't even amend it without going through the court system to get a judge's approval. And in Texas, the judge's approval is limited to certain circumstances. So if I just wake up and say, Joe Blow made me mad yesterday, I'm angry at him, so I want to take him out of my trust, the court's probably not going to approve that, right? Now, if I say, look, Joe Blow died, okay, so I need to take him out of there, the court probably would approve that. But then you're paying money to go through the court system and get the judge's approval to amend. Also, for it to have the legal protection that we want it to have, that we'll talk about in a minute, you cannot be the trustee of your own trust, and neither can your spouse or beneficiaries. So you're going to have to pick a third-party trustee to be in charge of that trust, to be in charge of your assets. This could be a bank and trust company. It could be an attorney. It could be a close friend or family member. But there's a lot of trust that has to go in there, right? Because they're in charge of things. Now, why would we want that? Why would somebody want an irrevocable trust over a revocable if it's so restrictive, right? What's the point? Well, it can do two very powerful things that the revocable cannot. Number one, it can protect our assets from lawsuits, okay? So you get sued for whatever reason. Maybe you're in a terrible car accident and it's your fault, and people die or get severely injured, and you have low insurance limits, right? So they come after your estate. Well, the irrevocable trust can protect those assets from those lawsuits, number one. Number two, the main reason most of my clients would be interested is because an irrevocable trust can protect your assets from having to be spent down in a nursing home situation, and can allow us to qualify for Medicaid. So I can have assets in an irrevocable trust that normally would disqualify me from Medicaid because I have too much money to qualify.
So let me ask you this, Brandon. So are you saying that in a revocable trust, these things are not possible? Like if that is so.
Yes.
So
a revocable trust in Texas will not shield your assets from a lawsuit. There are a lot of people think it will, but it won't. And it will not protect your assets from a nursing home stay. You need an irrevocable for that.
Got it.
Okay.
Sure, that was clear.
So those are two very powerful functions of what that trust can do, but you have to follow those rules. And so it's a very serious decision. And that's where the expertise of an attorney can come into play to help you, figure out what's best. Now, let me talk to you real quick about a third kind of trust that I think is important. It's a special needs trust. This is for the individual who is special needs. They're not most likely going to be able to work. They're most likely going to be getting Social Security, disability, and Medicaid. Maybe they already have it, or maybe that you have a child who that's going to be the situation in the future. If that special needs person who's on disability receives an inheritance, they will be kicked off SSDI and they will be kicked off of Medicaid until they spend that inheritance down.
Wow.
So a special needs trust allows us to route their inheritance into this trust instead of going to them directly. So they don't get kicked off SSDI, they don't get kicked off Medicaid. Then there's a trustee who's often a family member, maybe a sibling, who's not special needs. And there's certain things by law that they can spend money out of that trust on behalf of that person. So the special needs individual gets to keep their benefits, the Social Security, disability, the Medicaid, and they get to have some money through that trust that can buy them certain things like food and clothing and some entertainment, TV, things like that. So special needs trusts are also very critical for certain families out there who either have a child who's special needs, whether they're an adult or a minor. It's a good idea to look into a special needs trust.
Okay, great. So it's great information, by the way. I'm sure this is going to be very popular. So when you're looking at you mentioned one thing that I found, pretty interesting about a person being able to protect their assets and actually get Medicaid and go into a nursing home and have those things, basically paid for by Medicaid. Is that no matter what the size of their assets may be, if they have it in a irrevocable trust, Brandon? So if I had or is there a certain limit to that, or? No,
there really isn't. And so it's a very powerful device. It does, though, I don't remember if I mentioned this, it has to be set up 5 years before you apply for Medicaid, meaning if I apply for Medicaid tomorrow, that trust had to have been set up 5 years beforehand or longer. So the government has a 5-year look back. So that kind of kicks out the crowd who waits till the last minute. It's not going to work, right? You don't have 5 years if somebody needs to go in 3 weeks.
Yep.
But there's really no limits there, because once those assets have been in that irrevocable trust for 5 years or longer, the state of Texas has to, who administers Medicaid, has to assume that they don't belong to you anymore. They now belong to the trust, and you're not in control of the trust. Somebody else is. Now, we also, when it comes to long-term care, some people have so much money that we don't even worry about it, right? Just, hey, you got enough money, you can pay for care if you need it. Absolutely. But yeah, I've had clients, people with high 6-figure amounts in that trust. So there's really no limit.
Okay. Do you think there's an amount that when you're saying, okay, your assets are not big enough to even consider that situation where you can actually not have to, you don't have to even embark upon a trust?
Yeah. So, there's some families who their net worth is low enough. And keep in mind, in Texas, a homestead is not included in the Medicaid calculation. So we're not counting the house. We're mainly looking at financial assets, plus if you own any other properties besides your homestead. But sure, I've talked to families where I've told them, look, with the amount of assets that you guys have on hand, I don't think it's worthwhile. There are some other things that can be done with that money to help. Yeah. I think it's probably beyond the scope of this session. We can talk about some other time. But yeah, there are people I've told before, look, I think it's not worth your time and money to set up this kind of a trust, because I don't think you have a large enough pool of assets to justify doing it.
Perfect. Well, Brandon, is there anything else that you would like to add about the trust, or the differences, or what it may take to qualify for any type of trust? Anything else that we should know about as it relates to a trust?
The main thing is, please talk to a legal professional who really focuses in on this area. Don't try and do things on your own. It'd be a big disaster, especially with trust. And I would even say, you don't want to go to an attorney who dabbles in estate planning. You want somebody that they really focus on this area, and so that you can make really good, informed decisions about which trust would be best for your family.
Perfect. So everybody, thank you again, Brandon, for doing this segment with us. We appreciate it. It's great information, and we're going to continue to do this series on estate planning. And so you guys just continue to lock into our videos and continue to get educated. And Brandon, we'll talk to you on another day.
All right, Carson, thanks so much. Have a good one. Thank you, guys.
So I really hope that this video and this interview actually gave you some insight into all the different types of trusts that you may want to consider for your estate. Please remember that these videos are created for educational purposes only, and that you should always consult with your own financial advisor, your own tax advisor, and attorney about your own personal financial situation. Also, if you are looking for a fiduciary financial advisor to help you with your retirement goals, please click on the link provided in the section below and learn how to become one of our high-value clients. For more information on this topic and any of the other topics that we've discussed in our past videos, please do not hesitate to reach out to our office and leave any questions or comments in the section below.
To learn more about our services and how we can help you to increase your chances of not outliving your retirement savings, make sure to click on the link in the description below and sign up for our free Maximizing Your Retirement Income Masterclass. After this video, please check out our other videos that we've created that will give you tips on how to maximize your retirement. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you have questions,
we have answers.